Good morning to all. Today, in our class, we are going to discuss two concepts. In that first one, object-oriented testing strategies. Second one, object-oriented testing methods. Now come to the first concept, object-oriented testing strategies. In this concept, we have 3 points. In that first one, unit testing in the object-oriented context, and second one, integration testing in the object-oriented context, and third one, validation testing in an object-oriented context. So these are the 3 points in object-oriented testing strategies. So these concepts we already discussed in our previous classes. Even though now we are going to discuss the same concept now. In that first one, the first point is unit testing in the object-oriented context. That means in an object-oriented environment, we basically have classes and objects. In that objects, a testing individual module or a smallest testable unit in the class, it comes under unit testing. That means if a unit is tested or a small individual module is tested, such type of testing comes under unit testing. So this is the concept of unit testing in object-oriented context. Then if you come to the second point in object-oriented testing strategies is integration testing in the object-oriented context. So when you come to integration testing, we already know combining 2 or 3 units. After combined those units, what the testing we are conducting on that, it comes under integration testing. So when 2 or more units are integrated, afterwards if you are tested that one, it comes under integration testing. In integration testing in object-oriented context, we have 2 different strategies for object integration testing of object-oriented system. Those are nothing but one, thread-based testing, and second one, use-based testing. We already discussed these concepts, but once again we are discussing here. Thread-based testing means integrates the set of classes required to respond to one input, or even for the system, each thread is integrated and tested individually. That means to test a set of classes, that means integrate a set of classes required to respond to a one input, or even for the system, what is the thread we are using to integrate, that one is tested individually. So it comes under thread-based testing. That is, integrate the set of classes required to respond to one input, or even for the system, each thread is integrated and tested individually. So each thread which is used for responding for the inputs, each thread is integrated and tested individually. Such concept comes under thread-based testing. Then the second strategy for integration testing is use-based testing. Use-based testing is nothing but construction of the system by testing independent classes that use very few server classes. So this is the concept of use-based testing. That means to construct a system, we are testing independent classes and we are using very few server classes to test that system. So that comes under use-based testing. Then apart from these 2 strategies, we have another concept called cluster testing. So cluster testing is one step in the integration testing of object-oriented system. A cluster of collaborating classes. That means we already know, if you want to represent the relationship between the classes, we are using collaboration. So to make the collaboration, the homogeneous classes are all grouped in a format. In that group we are calling as clusters, and testing that cluster comes under cluster testing. So these are the strategies used in integration testing. So mainly in integration testing, we have two different strategies. One is thread-based testing and second one is use-based testing. Apart from these two, we have another concept in integration testing is cluster testing. Then the third point in object-oriented testing strategy is validation testing in an object-oriented context. So in validation testing, the validation of object-oriented software focuses on user visible actions and user recognizable outputs from the system. That means in validation testing is mainly focuses on only what are the components or actions a user is directly visible in the software on that, and what are the user recognizable outputs in the system. In these both points only the validation testing is focuses. One is user visible actions, that means what are the actions can a user can visible, and second what are the outputs can recognized by the user. These two concepts only the validation testing is focused. So this is the concept of validation testing. So overall the testing object oriented strategies are basically three concepts here. One is unit testing and second one is integration testing and third one is validation testing. In integration testing we have two different strategies. One is thread based testing and second one use based testing. Apart from these two we have another concept called cluster testing. So this is the overall concept of testing object oriented strategies. Then the second concept is object oriented testing methods. In the object oriented testing methods, before entering into the concept, we need to discuss some points. So the overall approach of object oriented test case design has been suggested by Berard. So he suggested the overall approach of test case design in object oriented testing methods. So before entering into those methods, we should follow some steps when you are designing the test cases for object oriented testing. So what are those means? The first step is each test case should be uniquely identified and explicitly associated with the classes to be tested. So first we want to uniquely identify the test cases and explicitly associated classes to be tested. So what are the associated classes are there to that? What are the test cases comes to design? We want to identify them and we want to test them first. Then second point is the purpose of the test should be stated. So we want to state what is the purpose of that test compulsory. Then third one is we want to list the testing steps should be developed for each test and should be contained. So in each step, in each test development, what are the steps it wants to contain? We want to list out that one. In that we have 5 points. In that first one is a list of specified states for the class that is to be tested. So what are the states are there for a class? We want to specify those states and we want to test those states. That is the first one. The second one is list of messages and operations that will be exercised as a consequences of test. So what are the messages and operations we have that must be listed and that must be tested consequently. Then third one is a list of exceptions that may occur as the class is tested. So we want to list out what are the exceptions may be occurred for a class when you are tested that one. Then fourth point is a list of external conditions. That means we want to check the external conditions also. So we want to first list out those external conditions and we want to test those external conditions. Including to that we want to supplementary informations that will aid in understanding or implementing the testing. We want to supplement some information also. Those information, through that information we will understanding and implementing the test. So these are the steps we need to follow when you want to design a test cases for object oriented testing methods. Apart from this, we have some points also for object oriented testing methods. Those are nothing but First one, test case design, implication of object-oriented concept, and second one, applicability of conventional test case design methods, and third one, fault-based testing method, and fourth one, test cases and the class hierarchy, and fifth one, scenario-based test design, and sixth one, testing surface structure and deep structure. So these are the 6 points are available for testing object oriented methods. So in that, the first one is test case design, implication of object oriented concept. So this concept basically have 2 points. One is high inheritance and second one is subclasses. We already know what is meant by inheritance. So inheritance may be designed in the form of hierarchical format. So if it is in the hierarchical format, it may also present you with additional challenges while designing the test cases. When you are designing the test cases for inheritance concepts, it may provide additional challenge for you. It may create some difficulty for designing the test cases for inheritance concept. Then second point is subclasses. So subclasses instantiated from a superclass. That means these subclasses are derived from a superclass. The set of test cases are derived for the subclasses can be used when testing the subclasses. So that means whenever a subclass is derived from a superclass, so what are the tests you are derived for those superclass, they may be used to test that subclass also. Otherwise, if it is not derived from that superclass, you must design a new set of test cases for that subclass testing. So this is the concept of inheritance and subclasses in test case design, implications of object oriented concept. Then if you come to the second point in methods is applicability of conventional test case design methods. So when you come to the conventional test case design methods, we have two conventional test case design methods are there. One is white box testing method and second one is black box testing method. So we already know what is meant by white box testing method. White box testing method means testing the internal technical concepts of the project or the software or a program. That means what are the conditions are there, how the data is moving from one place to another place, how the functionalities are running in the program, the internal environment of the project is testing. It comes under white box testing. We already discussed about this concept. Then if you come to the second point is black box testing method. Black box testing method means external view, that means testing the functionalities of the project, that comes under black box testing. This is the second concept. Then the third one is fault based testing. Fault based testing means the object of fault based testing within an object oriented system is to design tests that have a high likelihood of uncovering faults. That means so fault based testing means in an object oriented system, whenever a test is designing, we are covering the highly likelihood of uncovering faults. That means whenever we are testing a program, whatever the areas the faults may be exist, to covering such type of faults, this comes under fault based testing. Then the fourth concept is test cases and the class hierarchy. So this concept is also related to inheritance concept. So when we are testing and to design the test cases for inheritance concept, we must follow class hierarchical formats. So when you are following the class hierarchical formats, create some difficulties for the designing of test cases. So this is the concept of test cases and class hierarchy. Then if you come to the fifth concept fifth point is scenario based test design. In scenario based testing concentrates on what the user does and not the product does. That means scenario based test design mainly concentrate on what the user is doing. So it depends upon the user concepts and user actions. It does not depends upon the product, what the product is doing. It mainly depends on what the user is doing with your software. So that concept comes under scenario based test design. Then if you come to the last point in testing object oriented methods, is nothing but testing surface structure and deep structure. So in the surface structure means it refers to the external observable structure of an object oriented program. That is the structure that is immediately obvious to an end user. That means the external observable structure of a object oriented program comes under surface structure. What the end user immediately observe, the external structure, that comes under surface structure. Then deep structure refers to the internal technical details of an object oriented program. That is the structure that is understood only by examining the design and code of that project. So surface structure means the end user immediate observable external structure of the program. So deep structure means internal technical details which is understood only by examining the design or code of that project. So this is the concept of surface structure and deep structure. So this is the concept of testing object oriented methods. So in this concept we need to discuss first how this approach must be tested. For that we have 3 different points and we have 6 different types of concepts. Based on these 2 concepts of testing object oriented strategies and testing object oriented methods, based on these 2 concepts, so I given some assignment questions. So these are those assignment questions.